They say that, music is its own language, right? Music is like learning a language, and to become fluent in it is kind of the highest calling of music. And when you grow up with someone who's speaking it in your house all the time, it's easy to become fluent in that way. And it's just something you could never go to school for.
I grew up on a farm in Iowa. My parents, Laverne and Margaret, were farmers. Both came from farming families and farming background. Neither of my parents had any sort of musical background, so music wasn't really a part of that. When I was in junior high school, the band director said, "We need trombones in the high school band. You play the trumpet," and at that time I had braces on my teeth. He said, "If you switch to trombone," he said, "I think that'd be good for you then, and I'll let you march in the high school marching band." Through my high school career, always tried to do things that gave me an opportunity to learn more about music outside of the school situation because it was so small. And I went to the University of Miami. I started as a biology major. Primarily, I did not see music as a viable career. I had always thought that I can't compete with a college music major because my little high school didn't have music theory classes. What I knew about music theory was picked up in a summer camp. And so when I saw that everybody's training was starting here, I said, I'm a good student. I think I'm reasonably intelligent. I may not be all that talented, but I know how to work hard. So I remember going into Clifton Williams' office. He said, "I think I'll allow you to enter the music theory program. But," he said, "I want you to understand this, that a music theory degree and a quarter will get you a cup of coffee." What he was saying was, this is not a degree that qualifies you for a job. He said, "I'm tired of my graduates, very talented composers, graduating, not being able to find work. At some point, they just have to say, I've got to make ends meet, so I'm going to sell cars or I'm going to work at this." And they drift away from music and never get back to it sometimes. The only way you're going to work is if people find out about your capabilities and have something to offer you that will pay you. So I remember praying about that decision and asking for some sort of help in making that decision. I decided to switch my major into music theory and composition. And sure enough, when I graduated, nobody was asking me to write music. I was watching my income level decline and my savings account decline. I was getting pretty desperate in terms of having to say maybe at some point, I think I'm going to have to consider doing something other than music. It's just not making enough money. I was the first person on either side of our family to go to college. So it was a big deal. And it was not an easy time for my parents financially, I'm sure. It did more than cross my mind how disappointed my parents might be if I did that. Carol was the woman that I met in Miami. She was working as an administrative assistant in the choral department. She helped me copy music for a big orchestra chart that I had done for a big concert there, and that's how we kind of got to know each other quite a bit better. On the first date, I had told Carol, "You understand, I'm a musician, so marriage is not on my radar, because to have a wife, a family, I'm only employed when the phone rings, and that's not going to cut it." Right at the point that I was hitting bottom, I got a phone call, and Bill was on the other end of the line. He said, "Can you go to the airport and get on a flight to Chicago and write overnight 2 charts for a Dad's root beer commercial tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And I knew that it was the door of opportunity swinging open for me and what skills I had in music. And if I could take a confident step through and do a good job, it would change the trajectory of my career in music. I knew that when I hung up the phone. At the beginning, I was freelancing. I was the LA guy that they were bringing in to work on commercials, and I would fly back and forth between Los Angeles and Chicago for a few months. And eventually, they said, "We have an opening on staff. We'd like you to consider filling it." I accepted his offer, went from lunch down Michigan Avenue to a jewelry store, bought an engagement ring, got on an airplane, and flew to Miami and proposed to Carol that night. I ended up writing Christmas in Chicago for the Chicago Symphony, and that's become their traditional Christmas song. They've used it ever since. And so it was a great opportunity for young Cody, who was 6, I guess, at the time, to get his first taste of going to live orchestra concerts. You know, a great symphony orchestra, fun music, Santa's there. What could be better?
I got to grow up with a composer of that caliber just in the next room. I just remember being so proud that he was my dad. In many ways, I am just like a reflection of who he is. I think if you haven't gathered this by now, I'm one of the luckiest people on the planet to have a father like this.
Christmas in Chicago, as hearts fill with wonder, lights sparkle all along magnificent line. I love Christmas in Chicago, that's my kind of Christmas. It's like no other Christmas at all.
Chicago's kind of Christmas is a magic kind of Christmas.
It's like no other Christmas at all.
Merry Christmas.
Mm-hmm.